Reeve Williams, thank you so much for sitting down with me and chatting in beautiful downtown Ottawa at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Convention. What brings you here as Reeve of your municipality to attend the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Convention?
Well, places like this is where we can have connections with other municipalities. We can learn what FCM is doing, trying to focus on our oil and gas pipelines. That's a message that we strongly bring from Alberta. And to meet new people, to ask them questions. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? How have you solved these issues? And we all have very similar issues, and the results of what people do can be very different, but the outcomes are still the same, which is what we hope for.
So what are those similar issues that Northern Sunrise has that you're hearing from other municipal leaders that they're having?
Definitely the crime aspect, the revolving door, the mental health crisis that all towns are having, encampments, is something that we're hearing a lot of. And during the FCM, we've heard a lot of presentations about this as well.
Now, you and I have chatted a few times for this show, and one of the times that we chatted was about the energy industry in northwestern Alberta. And you put it on the table and you said you wanted Prime Minister Trudeau to come out to northwestern Alberta to see the oil sand, to stop calling it the dirty oil that he was calling it, or his government was calling it. You heard from Prime Minister Carney a few days ago at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Convention. I'm not sure if you were in the meeting, but what did you hear from Prime Minister Carney that gives you hope, or are you still pessimistic about this Liberal government?
I'm a little hesitant right now. I was hoping I would hear more about pipelines, oil and gas. He did speak of transfers and tariffs. We heard about housing, mental health, community safety, which are all aspects we all want to hear, but our energy sector was very limited in speaking, and it's been disappointing here at the FCM that we have not heard too much about the energy sector being spoken of, which really is the fuel for the rest of Canada. So we were hoping we would hear more, and that's not been the case this year.
Okay, so you've broached the subject, so I've got to play in that sandbox for a little bit if you don't mind. What does Northern Sunrise get from FCM that you can't do on your own? Because oil and gas is a large economic driver in your area. And I say that for almost all of Northern Alberta it is. What is the purpose of Northern Sunrise being part of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities if, as you said, you're not hearing about the issues that are important to you, the oil and gas issues?
So it's up to us to bring the voice here. It's up to us to advocate for our industries, our cleanliness, the industry that, again, fuels Canada, but we do it in such a responsible manner now that we're not the dirty oil that we've been plagued with. It's time that the greenness of our oil and gas sector is recognized, and unless we're here sharing that voice for all Albertans, then the rest of Canada is not going to know that.
We are also here in the National Capital. Have you had a chance to speak to any of your local MPs while in town and go meet with them while in Ottawa?
I certainly did. I actually had the chance to sit in Parliament, and our council had a wonderful tour with our administration with Arnold Veerson. So he very, very kindly took us around Parliament, so it was really fascinating to hear the history of the building from him and to have the opportunity to have a one-on-one discussion with him.
So what's next now? So I'm assuming, like me, you're heading back to Alberta unless you're staying in Ottawa, but as an Alberta girl, I don't think that is the case for you. So what do you do now with the information that you've gathered here? I'm assuming the advocacy work to make sure that oil and gas still stays on the table doesn't end once you get on the plane on Monday or Sunday night.
No, it certainly doesn't. If anything, I think our application has to be more. I think I've definitely learned here that there's still some misunderstandings of where their oil comes from. Even talking to some of the municipalities around Ottawa, they're still misunderstanding where their oil is actually coming from. So our voice still has to be strong. We still have to work with the federal government to make them understand that Alberta and rest of Canada are the drivers around Canada, but we do need to work together, and we need to be respectful of each other, and we need to be aware that we understand what each province brings. Each province of Canada has a little change in their industries, what they put forward for the rest of Canada. Alberta, of course, we know we're oil, gas, and forestry and agriculture. That is Alberta in a nutshell.
You spoke at the beginning of the interview about the crime that's going on. Bail reform is the hot topic at this year's convention. Are you hearing any substantial conversation around how we solve this? Because Prime Minister Carney has said there will be reforms to bail in his first week. I think he had a press conference where he mentioned that, but he didn't mention it fully in his address to the convention. What are you hoping to see around bail reform and repeat offenders that would help Northern Sunrise out to make sure people feel safe?
I think the biggest gap that's in the bail reform right now is a scenario of release, is not understanding that this repeat offender has a multitude of crime behind him and still being released. So I think we need something in place to say this offender has 10 plus behind him, then there needs to be a different scale of how this person should be released. We heard it from the RCMP. They had a discussion in one of the panels of their frustration of seeing this and rearresting the same person only to know before they even get back to the detachment to file their paperwork that this person's out on the street again. I can't imagine them. And one piece that the Canadian Federation of Police did bring up was the morale. And I can't imagine the morale of seeing this person out again after you've done everything you can as a police officer to arrest and trying to make the community safe, only for the judicial system to release that person and back into the community, which is often very unsafe.
We are in the early days of the Carney government. Are you hopeful that something can change, or are you, again, pessimistic that it's going to be same old in the next year?
I am hopeful for change. I really am. I am hopeful that we're going to start having a voice. Municipalities, we know our local government, we know our people the best. We live and breathe with our people. And it's up to then governments of all levels to listen from top down and from bottom up. And I don't mean bottom up as a negative aspect. Is to me, municipal government, we're closest to the people. Federal government, you're a little away, more away from the people. So we have those conversations in the grocery store all the time. We get phone calls, and that's our job. And that's where I don't want to move away from municipal politics, because I want to be at this level where I can speak to residents, I can hear their concerns and try and advocate for them. And if I can't answer them, I'll find an answer for them, or they may not like my answer, but they will get an answer.
It sounds like in that statement you just announced that you're running for re-election. Is that the case?
I am, definitely. Yes, I am.
Well, Reeve Williams, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule at the convention to sit down with me. Always a pleasure to chat.
Always a pleasure with you too, Chris. Thank you so much.